have been working with nursing agencies for over 2 years now, namely with Charisma and Allmed. So in this video, I'll be sharing with you how to join these nursing agencies, my experience with these agencies, and then I'm also going to be discussing the pay rate or the salary that you can expect if you're going to be working with these agencies. Please note that this is my experience. We can all have different experiences with these agencies. This is me just sharing my experience. As a result, if you have a different experience with these agencies, you are more than welcome to share with us down in the comment section. However, in this video, I'm just going to be sharing my experience. Okay, so a bit of background of how I ended up joining nursing agencies. I am non-South African. As a result, after I graduated from my nursing program, I did not qualify to do community service, because for you to do community service, you must either be a South African citizen, a non-South African with South African citizenship, or a non-South African with permanent residence. And since I don't qualify for either one of those and I used a study visa when I was studying, I could not do community service. In the moment, I'm currently waiting for my work visa to come out, and the work visa will then allow me to take on permanent work. So as a result, in the meantime, I can only do contract work. Hence, nursing agencies are the only option for me right now. However, nursing agencies is not just for international students. So there's actually 4 groups of people that nursing agencies apply to. Number 1 is obviously the international students that can't yet take on permanent work and as a result use nursing agencies to earn a living. The second group is those that are permanently employed somewhere and then they just need overtime or they need extra cash flow. The third group is nurses that have retired and they're not ready to stay at home yet, or their pension fund is not enough and as a result they need something to supplement their income. Then the fourth group is those that have quit their job or they're currently unemployed, still looking for something in the meantime, and as a result they use nursing agencies to still be in the workforce while they're looking for something that they want, or they just generally don't want to be permanently employed somewhere and they enjoy the flexibility that comes with working with nursing agencies. Please note that these 4 groups of people have different tax deductions and they have different laws and regulations that they must follow depending on who you are. If you're a pension fund, for example, if you're receiving a pension fund, the deduction that you're getting from your salary is going to be different because you're already getting an income and SARS is going to want to know where this extra income is coming from. So please, before you join any nursing agencies, please speak to the people that are within the agency or speak to someone who understands the tax laws in South Africa, especially those that are currently permanently employed by someone. You need to reveal this to your HR managers and your unit managers that you're using agencies to work overtime, because your tax deductions have to be adjusted based on you doing these overtime, and you need to decide for yourself if the tax deductions that get calculated based on you working with agencies, if it's worth it and that sort of thing. And then the last group of people that I have been asked a lot about is, can students work as nursing agencies? When I finished my second year and also in my third year, I tried to apply for nursing agencies, but I was not allowed because 1, you're not registered with the South African Nursing Council as a practicing person, and as a result, agencies do not want to take that and you would technically not allowed. However, there are students within training institutions, for example, in your private sector, like your Netcare education. There are students when they get into second year or end of second year, after you've learned how to give medication and that sort of thing, you are given the title of EN or your enrolled nurse. And as a result, those students are allowed to work overtime or they're allowed to do extra shifts that they get paid for and get a stipend via agencies. Okay, so in this section of the video, I'm going to be discussing my experience joining Charisma and joining Allmed. And first off, we'll start with Charisma. So Charisma was an agency that was highly recommended to me by nurses that graduated, I think, a year ahead of me. And they're like, Charisma, it's great, join that. So that was the only agency that I honestly was interested in joining. So my nursing license came out in March 2022, and immediately after, I joined with Charisma Online. So they have an online platform where you put in your information, you submit a few of your documentation, and after you've done that online sign up, they will send you an email with a link to do a test. So this test is pretty much just to test your basic knowledge of nursing calculations, drug calculations, safety, scope of practice. It's honestly just a basic nursing test to see where your skills are and if you actually know how to be a registered nurse in EN or ENA and that sort of thing. So after that online test, then they sent me an email to come to their offices. So on this day, it was actually supposed to be an interview. However, the person that was supposed to do the interviews was not available on the day. So on the day that I went there, I actually just did my fingerprints to do a background check to make sure that you don't have any outstanding warrants and that sort of thing, because you are going to be dealing with people, babies, and that sort of thing. Your record has to be clean. So they did fingerprints. Then I just submit my documentation, my SENG license, matric certificate, and all of that documentation. I'll put a list over here. And then also I had to sign the contract on the day. So other documentation that they gave me was the malpractice insurance. So this malpractice insurance is if you ever have a court case or something happens while you're in the facility, Charisma can help you to get legal aid for you to go through the court case and that sort of thing. Then there was also another injury contract that you have to sign, like if you get a needle prick injury in a hospital and that sort of thing, so that Charisma will be able to pay for the medical bills that come with that, etc. So it was those two. I think it's very important that you sign those, because when shit hits the fan, you need to have representations. As a result, I signed those. And then obviously the contract. Please make sure that whatever contract you're going to be signing with any agency, you read the terms and conditions that come with the contract. So with the contract, they showed you the pay rate, the tax deductions. Then it was also about maternity leave, sick leave. It was a whole long list of terms and conditions that come with you joining nursing agency. Please make sure that you read these carefully so that you know what you're getting yourself into, so that later on down the line you don't get surprised with what you're getting from your agency, because they stipulated in the contract. So after signing the agency, I think that was middle of March, then I think another 2 if not 3 weeks went by before they actually called me to do the telephonic interview that was supposed to happen on the interview day. The telephonic interview was honestly just basic. Who are you? Where did you study? What are your interests? What sort of disciplines do you want to be into? Where do you stay, and that sort of thing. And this is just an interview for them to determine what kind of person you are, what type of wards that you'd be interested in, and where your location is, because obviously they have to place you based on your interests and where you are located, so that it's easy for you to move around and that sort of thing. Then on the 10th of May, then they organized for me to go for orientation. So Charisma Agency is only affiliated with Netcare, so obviously my orientation only happened with Netcare, and my orientation was at Christian Barnard Hospital. So at this moment in time, Christian Barnard was still transitioning from the paper to the Care On program, which is the online system that Netcare has. So as a result, my training was a bit of both, of how to do the paperwork and also how to use their online system. So I think it was the beginning of the day, it was just us going through the paperwork, how to fill it in, because it's slightly different to what government paperwork is like, because I had been trained in government, so I only knew that. So there's slight differences, but it's not that bad. And then for the rest of the day, we went into the facility in the ward. They were showing you where the ward is, where the things are, introducing you to the unit managers and to the staff, just for them to be aware of that you're a new candidate that is coming into the working force and that sort of thing. And then the following week, which was between the 15th and the 16th of May, we had Care On training, which was 2 days, and those 2 days were paid by Charisma for the orientation. It wasn't the full rate. I think it was 3/4 of the rates that you'd get on a normal day for you to get this Care On training. It was a full-on 8-hour day, I think from 7 till 4 for those 2 days, where they show you how to use Care On, how to log in, how to submit documentation on Care On. It was honestly just a very informative process of you learning how to do Care On training. Then on the 23rd of May, then I was told that there is a spot for me to go do orientation in a place that I would actually get regular work, which was at Blowback Netcare. And I went there and I started working on the 23rd of May till the end of November of 2023. So I was in that placement for a really long time, and I loved being at Blowback. The person who did the orientation with me, it was the CNS of that ward, and also the unit manager was really, really, really good. Like they literally went baby steps, step by step of everything that I'm doing. So that was most of the first day. And then the days after that, you know, they give you a few patients to see how you do, see how you're managing, and they honestly just guide you. So that ward was number one. The orientation was top notch. So on that day that I did orientation at Blowback, my clinical facilitator was not available, but she came the day and she just showed me around the hospital of this is where everything is and that sort of thing. So it was really great. The process was a bit slow. Charisma's process really took a long time. I think close to 2 months for me to be actually registered, but honestly, it was worth it. I'll speak more about the pros and cons of this nursing agency later on in the video, but the process with them, yes, it was slow, but the service was really good. Okay, so now jumping to Allmed. So Allmed was an agency that I was aware of through my training. Obviously, as a nursing student, you see a few Allmed nursing agencies and stuff, but it was not something that I'd be interested in. Like I mentioned, Charisma was a highly suggested nursing agency, and that was the only one that I wanted to join. So with Charisma, because they were taking so long, like from the time that I submitted my documentation to the time that I did orientation and question bond, I think that was like a 3-week space. And that 3-week was making me nervous. So as a result, that's why I reached out to Allmed, where I'm just like, Charisma is taking forever. Is there another agency that can do this quicker and that sort of thing? And Allmed was quicker. So with Allmed, I sent them an email on the 23rd of April. Then on the 24th, they sent me an email and say, submit this documentation, which I did. And then I think like 2-3 days later, they told me to come to their offices to do the test and to submit my documentation and sign the contract. So the test was the same as with Charisma, but this one was written. It was just basic nursing calculations, safety, and that sort of thing. Then I also signed their contract. Obviously, the pay rate was a little bit different, and their contract was actually much smaller than the Charisma one because there's a lot of things they don't cover. Like the malpractice insurance, they don't have, but they do have the injury insurance, which I did sign also. I'm just like, I might need both. And then, yeah, their leave days and their pay rate is so different, but I'll explain at the end when I'm talking about the pay rate. So, yeah, it was just those differences that I was seeing. But because I was so desperate to just start working and get the experience, I was just like, whatever, sign. So I was actually supposed to wait for orientation, for them to orientate me in a facility under Allmed before I actually started working. However, as soon as my name popped up in their system, I had agents calling me within Allmed saying, hey sister, are you available for a shift? And I think the first few shifts were all psych shifts. And I guess the benefit on my side is the shifts that they were recommending me, it was a hospital I knew very well from my training as a student. And also I'd worked in this ward in my last year of nursing. So I was willing to take the chance of, okay, I don't have orientation yet. I have not been orientated, but I know the facility and I will go. So I took that upon myself and I took the shift and I went to it because I really needed to work. And yeah, waiting for them to do the orientation process was just going to take long. Their process or their administration was a bit messy because I think it took me another 2 weeks before I got my name badge, because also they were in the process of moving from Bellevue, where they were, to now Claremont, where they are now. So getting my name badge took forever. So all I had was a company number and the SMS and that they sent me, and I just went and I worked. So the first few shifts with them, there was no clinical facilitator that ever came to see me. Yeah, I think a clinical facilitator only came to me when I transitioned with them to private, but I'll speak about that later. So yeah, the clinical facilitator system is not that great. So no one orientated me, but I knew the facilities. So I was just like, you know what, it's fine, I will go. And then I started working with them. So I think beginning of May, kind of the same time that I was doing my orientation at Cushion Barad, I was also now starting to work at Krutiskin. Most of the shifts in the beginning were psych. There's a lot of shortage of RNs in psych, and I mean, I had my psych badge, so I was like, okay, fine, let's go. So it was psych. Then I eventually moved to hematology, which was a 7/4 shift, and then eventually I moved to other general wards and that sort of thing. Then eventually I joined Charisma, or the whole process with Charisma eventually came through, and I started getting shifts in Charisma. So since Charisma orientated me in private, all I had to do was tell Allmed, like, hey, I'm already orientated in private. I'm gonna book myself for shifts in private. Are you going to pay for me? And they're like, yeah, it's fine. If you're orientated, just sign in the Allmed book and you get the shift. So that's how I transitioned with Allmed into private. However, if you're going to transition from government to private with Allmed, make sure that they orientate you first, because private is a bit more finicky about orientation and that sort of thing with agency staff. But Charisma did their work for them and I just transitioned with them. So that worked out for me. And the only reason why I transitioned with Allmed to private is, one, their pay is a little bit more in private than it is in government, so there was no need for me to stay in government, and also because their money came in Wednesday night, so by Thursday morning I have money compared to Charisma where the money was coming in on Friday morning. So that's kind of the only reason why I moved with them. So obviously, starting with pros, with Charisma is obviously they're only affiliated with private hospitals, which is Netcare and Life Health. As a result, their pay is much better. The second pro with them is they've got great facilitators. Like, they literally guide you with everything. If you need extra resources, if you need any extra training, top notch, they're there for you. Third thing is their administration is wow. Even though it was slow when I was signing up, but the administration is very streamlined. They've got a good process that they've got going on, especially when it comes to your pay slips. So obviously, as a nursing agency, you get paid on a weekly basis. So every single week when my money comes in, they will send me an SMS with their link where I can go see my pay slip, and on the pay slip it will confirm my banking details. It will tell me this is the amount of days that I worked, were there any Sundays, were there any public holidays, this was the rate that they used to calculate my pay. Then they show me my deductions from tax to UIF to any malpractice insurance deductions and that sort of thing. It also shows you the leave days that you have. Like, it shows you everything. It's so thorough, it's beautiful, and I love it. Then the third benefit with them is their upskilling. They've got so many opportunities for you to upskill yourself and for you to get training if you want to advance yourself and that sort of thing. And they have a lot of guidance on how to do that process. So those are the pros with Charisma. Then the pros with Allmed is, number one, they have a lot of shifts, like a lot. Like, you will never be unemployed with them, honestly. And the reason for that is they are affiliated with a lot of hospitals, from Grooterskin Hospital, Tygerberg, Karl Bremer, Victoria Hospital, Stickland, Falkenberg, Alex, Red Cross. They have so many hospitals that they are affiliated with, and as a result, you always have shifts. Even when it comes to privates, they're affiliated with Netcare, Mediclinic, Life Health. So you always have shifts. So depending on what you're interested in, you honestly can just stick in the wards that you want, and it's perfect. So I love that about them, that they send you an SMS to confirm your shift. So with Charisma, in the beginning, they didn't do this. They will just call you, hi system, we have a shift for you, are you available? Oh, hi Charisma, yes, I'm available. Where is it? Okay, cool, I'll be there. And that's the end of the conversation, and you must just rock up. However, what I liked about the Allmed system is, for every shift that you have, then they'll send you, it's a day shift or it's a night shift, it's at this hospital, and this sometimes at the pay rate, sometimes not. So you would know. So you'd arrive to the facility and say, hey, this is the proof that I'm actually booked here. And I know at Grooterskin that was a big thing. They always wanted to see the SMS to make sure that you actually booked at this hospital. So it is very good for you to have that proof, because sometimes there's been cases where you arrive at a facility and the facility is like, we don't know you. And then you show them, hey, there's my proof, I'm actually supposed to be here. So that if you ever need to claim a cancellation fee, you're able to claim it because you have the proof. So the cancellation fee occurs in two ways. It's either the hospital cancels you late. If they cancel you anytime between either 4 a.m. or 4 p.m., you're entitled to a cancellation fee, which you must claim from the hospital. Then your agency will pay you. Or if the hospital cancels you on time, but your agency fails to inform you on time, then the agency is expected to pay you the cancellation fee. With Charisma, they like to focus a lot on putting you on longer term placements. Like, what happened with me is I started at Blowback in May, and I eventually left them in November because I was moving places and that sort of thing. But if I don't move, I would have stayed there. And the reason for that is they like to put people in a ward where you eventually be taken into the system and you become permanent, which works well if you're someone that is looking for a permanent placement. You grow with the place as an agency staff, and then you eventually become permanent in that position. However, the only disadvantage with that is if you do not want to become permanent, it's harder for you to find shifts in the beginning with charisma, and you have to market yourself a lot. So most of my shifts were in the specific ward where I started, and then eventually I started introducing myself elsewhere, like, oh hey, I'm so and so, I'm working this ward. If you guys ever need extra hands, you can let me know. Or my unit manager would say, oh, okay, I don't need you on this specific day, but this ward needs someone. I'm able to work them. And then you go there, you get to meet the staff, they like you, and then you eventually get booked there. Or the hospital will call Allmed and say, Allmed, hey, we need a few shifts here and there. And then Allmed would let me know there's a shift available here, and I would go into that ward. So in the beginning, I had to market myself a lot because they like to put you in a ward where you're going to be there for the long haul. So that's the only disadvantage if you're someone who wants to move around. But if you're someone who wants to stay in that position for a really long time, then it's fine. The other disadvantage is if you're someone who gets into a placement because of charisma and you're there for the long haul, but you don't want to take a permanent post. When the ward finds a permanent post, you get pushed out because they don't need you anymore. There's someone filling in the position that you're taking up, which is what kind of happened at Blowberg, but I also moved. So the events kind of coincided and I moved. I guess it was time for me to go. But yeah, it does make things a little bit awkward when the new person comes in and your shifts start becoming less and less and less until you eventually decide like, okay, I'm not needed here anymore. Then the second thing is, in the beginning, like I mentioned, they didn't used to send you a message to say, hey sister, you're booked here. They'll just call you and you go. But now they've adjusted their new system. Now you get an SMS for every shift that you booked. They will send you an email to say you are booked. Then they'll show you where you're going, which hospital, the pay rate for the day, and that sort of thing. So in the beginning it was a con, now it's a pro. And then the last con with them is affiliated with very few hospitals, and it just sucks, man. It's only Netcare and Life Health, and I really wish that they were affiliated with more hospitals. So Charisma, please do better. Like, I feel like that'd be so good if they joined or they teamed up with Mediclinic, but I do know that Mediclinic has MHR, so it's kind of hard to get into that whole process and that sort of thing. But yeah, I just feel like they need to be affiliated with more hospitals because their organization, their admin is top notch. Then the cons that come with Allmed is, number one, the administration is poor. They frustrate me so much. Since I've been working with them, I've never claimed leave from Allmed. Every time I inquire about it, hey sister, we'll get back to you. Or when I inquire again, oh hi sister, you haven't made a full day leave yet. I'm like, I've been working with you guys for 2 years. So that's also the other thing that has made me to stop accepting shifts with them now. Like, if I'm desperate, sure, I accept a shift. But if I don't need to accept a shift, I won't accept a shift from them anymore. Because I'm like, I'm not gaining anything. Yes, I'm getting money. But also, I think it was end of 2024, the pay rate went down a little bit. There was also a whole another scandal and pay rates and whatnot that I'm not going to get into. So yeah, the administration just does not work. There's been times when I've gone to Mediclinic twice on 4 different days to get orientated, and all of those days have never been paid out because it's orientation, or the first day is orientation, the second day you never hear from them again. So yeah, that process of theirs has just been really annoying. There's been days when I've claimed cancellation fees and the cancellation fee never arrives. So yeah, the administration is just not it. Then the second thing is, in government, their pay rate is atrocious. Like, I don't get it. Like, it doesn't make sense from what I'm getting in private and in government. I'm like, I don't know how people are surviving on this, but yeah. Then now comes the pay rates, the thing that everyone wants to know. So I just need to get my papers so that I'm saying these things correctly. So starting with Allmed, in a general ward on a day shift in a government hospital for a 7-4 shift, you get paid about 990. This is after the deductions. And then on a normal 7 to 7 shift, the pay is about 1,100. I've never worked night shift with Allmed in a government setup, so I don't know how night shift is like. Then if you're now moving to private wards, in a normal general ward for a day shift, the pay rate is about 1,300 per day, and then on a night shift it's about 1,500. I've never worked in a specialist ward with them, so I don't know what their rate is. But if you're in private, it ranges from 1.3 to 1.5. If you're in government, it ranges between 990 to 1,100. And this is an RN pay rate. Then with Charisma, in a general ward for day shift, it's about 123 Rand per hour. Then on night shift, it's about 136 per hour. This is not public holidays. This is not on Sundays. Then in a specialist ward, on a day shift, it's about 156, and then on a night shift, it's about 181. Okay, so there's different things that affect your pay rate. Obviously, is whether you're working a 7-7 shift or you're working a 7-4 shift. Also depends on the number of days that you're working in a week. Are you working all 7? Are you working all 5, 2, etc.? Whether you're working day or night shift, whether you're working in a general ward or you're working in a specialist ward. So those 4 things really do affect your pay rate, and obviously the number of cancellations, the number of public holidays, and the number of Sundays that you get on your shift. So if working with agencies is your only income, this is the advice that I would give you. You need to determine the amount of hours that you need to work in a specific week so that the total amount that you get in a month is enough to cover your expenses. And that number differs from people to people. For me, I've discovered that 4 days enough, it covers my expenses, because in the beginning it's almost like it's a rat race where you are trying to get as many shifts as possible because you're so desperate and you think that at any day these shifts can be cancelled and you don't have any money. So I understand that, and it is a very real reality working with agencies. But if you determine how many hours you need in a single week, it stops you from overworking yourself in that desperation. So once you get your 4, then you just relax and you actually take your rest. And also take advantage of public holidays and on Sundays. The money is a little bit more, and that can also help you to work a day less sometimes. And also if you can get into your specialist wards, your ICUs, your maternity, your dialysis, those type of wards, they pay you a lot of money, and as a result, if you don't need a lot of money, you don't have to work as many days, but your specialist wards will honestly give you a lot of money. Then the last thing that I want to say is, obviously there's other agencies out there. I've only been affiliated with Charisma and Allmed because that's all I ever needed. But you also need to be aware that the other agencies, I'll put a list over here. And if you're going to be inquiring with these agencies, please make sure that you find out the pay rate, the communication process, how orientation is going to work, what is the upskilling process, and also what kind of communication they're going to be giving you when it comes to shifts and that sort of thing. But the pay rate one is very important because you need to know what you're getting yourself into, and then also if they're going to provide you any leave days. So that is all from me on this video on how to join agencies, my process, and kind of the pay rate and the salary that you can expect when working with agencies. So before you go, you can check out this video that I did of the pros and cons of working in nursing agencies. Until next week, Friday, 12 p.m. South African time, have an awesome one. Bye guys.